closure of Tyson Foods' Nebraska beef processing plant is highlighting the economic toll of current policies, with 3,200 employees losing their jobs. In a shocking move, Tyson Foods, the largest meat producer in the U.S., has announced the closure of its Nebraska plant, a decision attributed to rising cattle costs caused by tariffs under the Trump administration. These tariffs have pushed costs to nearly $1 billion, resulting in a $425 million loss for Tyson Foods in 2025 alone. The closure will leave 3,200 employees in a small town of just 11,000 people without work, many of whom are believed to have supported the current administration. The impact doesn't end there. Tyson's Texas facility will also see major cuts, with their 3-shift operation reduced to just 1, meaning further layoffs are expected. As large industries like Tyson are affected, the ripple effect is felt by local businesses too. Suppliers, vendors, and contractors who relied on Tyson's contracts are now facing losses and potential bankruptcies. Experts warn that this is just the beginning, as the administration's ongoing economic policies continue to create instability for workers, businesses, and communities nationwide.
Nebraska, what exactly is going on there?
You know, Katie, have you ever been in a place where you can just feel the pain and the anxiety? That's what it feels like being here in Lexington, Nebraska. This is a town of under 11,000 people, and 3,200 will lose their jobs on January 20th when the Tyson plant in town closes. People have described to me what's happening here by using the words catastrophe, crisis, the feeling of being collateral damage, hurt, anxiety, agony. I mean, just such powerful words because of what's happening here. The street that you see behind me is a vibrant business district. I've talked to some of the owners. Some of them are immigrants. As you drive up the street, the names of the businesses tell you about the diversity in this town. People from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Somalia, some of them former refugees who worked really hard at the Tyson plant, saved their money, and became business owners in this community. The impact of this is everywhere, but here are some of the people that I talked to.
What do your friends tell you, the ones that are leaving?
We try not to talk about it because we get really emotional.
So you're mostly not talking about it?
We always try to think of the positive side.
Yeah. The time that you still have together.
Yes.
Is that what you focus on?
Yes, we try to make the best of it.
Are you trying to get information from the city? Has the city provided any information to you?
No yet.
Is that frustrating?
Yes. We need to know what's the other plan he had it.
The Nebraska people voted for their own demise. Not only did they vote for tariffs, but they also voted to expel farm workers who worked on their cattle ranches, and their fields. Now they're watching their livelihoods disappear because of racism. So let's have a look. Please like and hype the video. Then I'll come back with more, right? Let's get into it.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are gonna go bankrupt now. We are gonna go bankrupt. And we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
I'm so excited for everyone to call me a bad person again in my comments, but guess what? I do not care about Nebraska going bankrupt in 6 months. I do not care. I do not care. Maybe a few other of those red states should go bankrupt in 6 months so the blue states can swoop in to save them, so they can understand that we are not the bad ones. We are not the poor ones. We are not the ones who cannot survive under the orange turds' crazy policies. But you know why I don't feel bad for Nebraska? You know why? Because I believe I heard 65% of their workforce is undocumented people, which means they're not coming to work anymore, which means work's not happening, which means all the farmers in Nebraska are going to go bankrupt because they all went out there and voted against their neighbors. 65% of neighbors who are immigrants, okay? Fuck around and find out at this point. You know what I mean? And of course, I do feel bad for those blue people in Nebraska who did not vote for this. So unfortunate. That's what you get for being racist and not wanting immigrants in this country, even though they're paying taxes and contributing. So
everybody's wound up today because Trump says we're going to import all this beef from Argentina. We're going to lower our beef prices because the beef's too expensive here. And I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. First of all, it's not really a new thing to import beef. We've imported beef in this country for a long time. What is new, however, is the government getting involved because of the prices and saying the beef prices are too high. We're going to make a deal. We're going to buy a bunch of beef from Argentina, and we're going to undercut the American farmers and ranchers who are finally making some decent money. And that's just, it's a socialist mindset, if you ask me. That's not what I've grown up thinking as an American market, supply and demand. Where did that go?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm starting to get real suspicious of whatever Trump is doing with Argentina. You already know that Trump has blown up the Chinese market for American soybeans. And now Argentina is sending their soybeans to China. And then we bailed out Argentina to the tune of $40 billion. Now look at this. Trump is suggesting that America is going to buy beef from Argentina to bring down prices for the American consumers. Yeah, American beef is high. You know why? Because there's a monopoly. But instead of addressing the monopoly, he's going to import beef from Argentina, who has already taken the American soybean market and has already been bailed out by the American taxpayers. So now we're blowing up the American beef market too? Trump has to be doing the bidding of another country to destroy America. There is no way you can make any of this make any sense.
It's Joe from Georgia. So we're getting ready for the first domino to fall, and we know what happens after the first one falls. Well, the state of Nebraska, the governor, Jim Pillen, has asked the federal government for help because they're not going to be able to pay their bills this year. And here's the problem in Nebraska. They had over a $2 billion contract with the Chinese government to export soybeans to China. Well, out of that $2 billion, they've canceled all the contracts. So out of that $2 billion, $350 million was state revenue taxes. They're not getting any of that. And the governor also goes on to say that because the migrant farmers weren't able to work in Nebraska this summer, that those people didn't pay their taxes either. And the farmers who already have crops in the ground, folks, they've already spent their money. They're going to need help too because they're not getting any money from the contracts anymore. So Nebraska is the first state. And when you look at the Midwest, you're probably looking at Kansas, you're looking at Iowa, South Dakota, all of those places that are large exporters of grains to China and depend on migrant farm labor. They're not going to be able to pay their bills either. So here's the first one to fall. But of course, as we do know, a certain person in a certain house in Washington, D.C. at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, they know all about bankruptcy. I'm sure they'll be able to help.
So as a Nebraskan, the farmers predominantly voted for the current president. They also voted for Pete Ricketts and Deb Fischer, who aren't doing anything for them. And China announced that they're not going to buy corn and soybeans today, or I think they've done it over the last couple days. I think it was last week, because of the trade war their current president that they voted for decided to wage, a trade war with China. They're not going to buy your goods. And I know that a lot of you have said that you want aid. Well, as a taxpayer who lives in Nebraska who did vote for the right candidate, I don't think I want my tax dollars going to bail you out. I think you actually should sit in your decisions and feel the effects. You want us to. Every time we vote for a Democrat and you say they're horrible. So at this point in time, I'm going to tell you the same thing you say to me back. You wanted to vote for this. Now you get to deal with the consequences. And I don't think I should have to bail you out. because I work hard for my money too, and my dollars shouldn't bail out your bad decisions. So yeah, today I'm telling you, the farmers here in Nebraska, you need to deal with your own decisions. It's your consequences, not mine, and I don't want to pay for them.
Racism is expensive, and corporations and billionaires don't care about you. This is probably breaking news to many who support and applaud mass deportations. Well, the people in Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, is starting to find out how expensive both of those things are, how expensive racism is, and how much corporations and the billionaires don't care about the working class, minorities, poor people, black people, and other non-billionaires.
Elections do have consequences. When people enter a voting booth, they're not just choosing a candidate, they are choosing the direction of their communities, their economy, and their future. And for years, many farmers and rural voters, they were told that tariffs would make America strong, They were told the trade wars would make America prosperous. But now we are seeing the consequences are so severe. They thought that mass deportation would benefit American agriculture. But agriculture in America depends on immigrant labor, Now they are facing worker shortages. Soybean export markets, which have been built for decades, are now gone, Now people who once felt secure for their own future are now worried about their future. But many people try to warn them, People try to warn about the Trump tariffs and the trade wars, but many people brushed off because they were motivated by hatred and even racism. And when a processing plant closes, the effects ripple through the entire region, Truck drivers, they lose routes. Local restaurants, they lose customers, Small businesses, they see fewer sales. Schools, they receive less funding. Property value declines. And that's why elections do matter a lot. People must ask questions whether the promises make economic sense, whether the policies will actually benefit people's lives. Because once the policies take effect, they don't care who you voted for, They don't care about your party loyalty. They affect everybody, even the ones who voted for them. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.